So guys, we've got 6 months to farm as many airdrop points for Illuvium as possible. And in this video, I want to go over the basics that every beginner should know about Illuvium Zero. So let's get into it. So the target is to build as efficiently as possible. So I'm not going to go in this video about achieving your goals, how to optimize that or do that or follow those rules. The idea here is to show you as a beginner what is the best or what you need to look out for. So the first thing that you need to know or familiarize yourself with is this little icon here. This will give you a lot of information that you can use to build your town as efficient as possible. So what we will start off with is the path bonus. So as you can see, I've got a path bonus of 3%, reducing the build or construction time of whatever the work needs to be done by a building by 3%. So if we look at this building for argument's sake, you will note I'm getting a 3% reduction in time. This is because it's connected or adjacent to this road, which forms part of this whole town of mine. You look at this building for argument's sake, it's not touching the road. So I'm not getting this bonus here. So I need to either move the building or move the road closer to get that time reduction. The other thing to make sure or note as well is if we were to look at this one for argument's sake, we're getting a 3%. Now let's remove or break this road. As you can see, we're getting 3% where all the roads go. Let's remove this. Now you'll note only a 2% bonus, and there we're getting a 1% bonus. So make sure that everything gets connected to improve your bonus on time reduction. So that is very important and can make a big difference in how fast your production is going. As you can see, everything back to 3% reduction. Next up is power. So we need to look at power. So as you can see, this shows the power consumption, and every building that requires power has got power. So if that's the number of power that this power station generates. So what you need to do is make sure and understand how this is generated and how it's getting used. So let's take this one for argument's sake, and we move this. As soon as you move it, you'll see there's a square. So what's happening here is everything within these yellow blocks will get power from this power station. And what's important, you can have a look now and decide whether or not you want it, like in this case, where I've got it in the center and the roads on the side of that, and everything within the roads will get power. Now keep in mind that if this supplies power of 2,500, every building consumes X amount of power. So if we look at this one, and we look at its info, it requires 200 power. So you've got to add up all the buildings in here, the power consumption, and that is the maximum that this can supply. If you were to overload this and have more buildings in there, then it can't supply all the buildings and they will stop working. Now, what is another thing that you need to know is if we look at this building and we move this, then you'll see that the yellow actually expands past my road. And as you can see on this one, let's collect that. If we were to move this building, you can see this building is getting power, but there is not getting power. And as soon as I go there, it's getting power. So what I'm trying to show you here is that it doesn't need to be completely in this yellow block. Only touching one part of it in that yellow block will give it sufficient power. It will go even as far as you can see that little block there. If we were to just use that corner, see, no power, and there we go. So if we can look at this, so only utilizing that little square there to get power from that power station. Now you can use this to your advantage in building and spacing out certain buildings and optimizing what buildings you place where. So I hope that gives you some help with the power situation. The last thing about power stations is that you can also use it to boost your efficiency by utilizing more than one power station. So what I mean by this, so if we were to look at this building for argument's sake, construction at the moment is 84% efficient, and it produces 4,500 silicon and 11k silicon. So just by adding an extra power station, so this is a level 1, moving that closer to that gives us an extra 10%. Now it doesn't matter even if it's a level 4, you don't need to do, you just need a level 1. If you look at efficiency now we've got 12k silicon and 5,000 silicon passive. That's an extra 500 in that time and an extra 2k when you convert, which makes a big difference in this case. Now it doesn't always make a big difference straight away as you want it, but using it at the right place, it definitely helps. So if I were to build another one here, let's somehow use this building, this power station. We look at efficiency now. There's another 600 on the passive and another K on the silicon converter. So definitely something to look into. But where you could really benefit from that is in later levels. And when you've got buildings like this, we've only got one, let's just get highlight. We've only got one trench here that we can utilize. So getting extra 10% from this will help a lot in the long run. So although it might not seem straight away, it will make a difference in the long run. But also, if you look at like here where it will matter is you will convert. Let's just move this completely out of the way so you can see the rate without the extra power station. So currently I'll be producing 6 krypton and 5 passive in the same time. If I add more power stations, it's fairly cheap and you can do it. And there you can see an extra krypton in the same time cycle. And that does add up. Next up, we need to look at efficiency. So as you select efficiency, you will note the efficiency of each building is on top of that building. So you'll note this building gets 110%, 106, 90, 83 and so on. But how do you know where it's best apart from just placing the building? Because there is a few things to look out for. Let's move this building. As soon as we start selecting this, we'll see other buildings with the same is actually utilizing or showing yellow grids. And now this can show us, as soon as we go into that yellow part, we'll note this building and the building where we're going into will start reducing in efficiency. So optimal, we're getting 84%. Yeah, as soon as we get closer, it impacts that one and this one, and we're only getting 66%. All the impact also affects other buildings in the area. So this is the same type of building, so they are harvesting or collecting the same material, but this one is collecting something different. But even that, moving this one will be impacted when we move this closer. Now, maybe not as much as going closer to your same type of building, but it still influences that as well. If you select that, the other thing that you will note here is as soon as you do a selection, it shows you on the other buildings of the same type what will be the maximum negative effect on this. So on this one will be -40, on that one -10%. And you can actually take advantage of that in a way. And what I mean by that, and maybe that's another video, but to quickly show you the idea or the logic behind this. This building gives us 84%, and if we look at information, it's 1008 silicon every 30 minutes. If we were to move this building, let's place it here. I can place this building. I can move this and place it here to keep the maximum effect that I can on this. And no problems. Same with this side. But the problem is I've got all this space in between that I've got to utilize in another way. Now, because this, you're already losing 20%. If you look at, let's just cancel this. As soon as I look this, maximum 40 I can lose. Now take this one there. I'm losing 50%. It's only working at 50%. But I'm only losing 30% because originally it was down or working only at 80% capacity. So if we were to look at the info, it's working at 600 and not 1008. So we're actually getting better results in a way, because two of these close together will give us 100% and not 280s. But the downside is we'll need 4 of them. But now you're going to say, but won't that make it 50%? And the answer is no. Because what's going to happen, oh, that's one I can't move at the moment. But basically what's going to happen is 4 will get 50% as well. Just see if I can move that one. Okay, so let's just deactivate. While we're doing that, use your activity. Put off repeat. So remember, if you can't use it or move it, and then so now you see I've got 4, which will give me the same as 2 at 100%, but I'm using less space, a lot less space, and I don't need to worry about how efficient this is. The downside of it obviously is you will require more power to power these, and that brings us now to actually putting it all together in a sense. Is if you look at power and efficiency together, you'll note, okay, so this is not enough. We need power. Will this power be enough? And as you can see, now passively, although they actually produce on each on their own less power, however, combined in the final numbers, the production is increased. You're using less space and it's a lot more efficient. Obviously, you will need to look at your land, your layout, and whether or not it is viable for you to do this kind of setup, or will it be actually improving your generation of the material you require. In my case, it will definitely benefit me because I only have this one rift, as it's a tier 1 land. If I were to remove this, I need 50k silicone to actually craft or use this range. So the more I can get out of it, the better. And personally, I think it's easier for me to generate more by utilizing and clamping it all in passively like this. I will still do the final numbers, but that you get the idea on that. Another couple of things just to note is these plants. So you can harvest these plants for materials, but they respawn. So if you don't build something on this place, they will respawn. But what you need to look out for is give them time to respawn properly. It takes a bit of time, I think like 48 hours or something. As you can see, this one is in prime, so it'll take 6 minutes, it's fully grown. Whereas if you look at this one, as you can see, it's still a youngster, it's still a sprout, so it's not worth harvesting this at all. So wait till it's full grown, unless you really need the space before you clear it. Otherwise you won't get maximum benefit for your materials that you're getting. Another thing is to keep an eye on your storages. You don't want to fill your storage capacity to overfull. You want to convert them to whatever fuel you can, or other materials if you can. But if your storages are full and you do claim them, you can still actually claim them. Even if your storage and you drop some of the material, you still get XP. As you can see, you will still get that XP even though it's full. In my case, I'm not full, but you will still get them, so you can still claim them, but preferably get your storages so it's not overfull. So that was my basic beginner's guide of things you should know as a beginner. that a lot of people don't talk about. I hope it helps, and good luck with farming those air points.